Look at it. Look, I'm from Southside Jamaica, Queens. I don't like Supreme. I don't like Premium. But he lived the way.
I'm a passionate brother. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I cry a lot of shit like that. I'm very emotional. So when people talk about me,
he wanted that. He was watching them be that, like Mace be that and can't be that.
Let's get one thing straight right now. In the world of hip-hop, there are rules. Unwritten, understood, and enforced not by law, but by consequence. And one of the most ironclad rules is this. You do not, under any circumstances, casually slide 50 Cent's name into your mouth unless you are fully prepared for what comes next. It's a rule built on 2 decades of scorched earth diss tracks, brutal online takedowns, and the cold, hard fact that Curtis Jackson doesn't just win beef, he annihilates it. For a minute there, it seemed like Jim Jones, Harlem's self-styled capo, had forgotten that rule. It started with a whisper, the kind of slick, no-name dropping shade that rappers love to throw in interviews. Jim was talking, doing that thing he does, reminding everyone who's really outside. Then he let it fly.
I'm a passionate brother. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I cry a lot of shit like that. I'm very emotional. So when people talk about me, I gotta stand up for me because nobody else gonna stand up for me, as you see. You heard? I fight all my battles on my own. I take losses and I take my wins the same way. You heard? The same smirk, just like this.
A lot of these dudes be acting tough for the cameras. We know who really outside the internet didn't just hear it, it felt it. A collective digital gasp. Because in the coded language of hip-hop, everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. He was talking about the man who built an empire on the foundation of being not just successful, but street certified. The man who took 9 bullets and lived to tell the tale, then sold over 30 million albums telling it. He was talking about 50 Cent. And 50 doesn't do disrespect. He metabolizes it. He turns it into fuel, into strategy, into content. The response wasn't a diss track. It wasn't a long ranting video. That's for amateurs. This was something far colder, far more calculated. It was a predator's move. Within hours, the digital landscape shifted. On his Instagram, a platform he commands like a general commands an army, 50 Cent posted. No frantic energy, no fury, just ice. The post was a masterpiece of menace, a single sentence that sent a shiver through the very spine of the culture. Boom. No name, no tag, just those 9 words, hanging in the digital air like a blade.
Yeah, at that point he was hating them. So it's like, you done robbed the brother for all the work they actually got. Now after you done robbed them for all the work they got, these 2 guys keep bringing new product over there for them to have work on the corner that you just robbed all the work that they had from. So now you're starting to allow him to try and develop his clientele back with that. So now what we got to do is we got to go rob them other 2 corners too. The other 2 guys keep giving it to him, we got to take that too. So now that they don't have anything to actually give him, to loan him.
But the timing, the tone, the chilling finality of it, it screamed one name and one name only. Jim Jones, watch your step. The comment section erupted. It was a digital stampede. 50 about to air somebody out. Jim better relax before 50 start dropping receipts. He's in villain mode. The collective understanding was immediate. When 50 Cent says, remind the city, he's not talking about a rap lyric or a forgotten interview. He's talking about the shadows. He's talking about the real life, behind the curtain, hope this never sees the light of day kind of history that most people in the game pray stays buried.
Look at it. Look. I'm from Southside Jamaica, Queens. I don't like Supreme. I don't like Premium. But he lived the way he actually projected himself. His lifestyle is consistent.
He was true to it.
He never ratted on nobody. Just like that.
This is the crucial thing to understand. 50 Cent plays chess, not checkers. He doesn't talk without a purpose. Every word is a move. Every post is a piece on the board. So when he sends a message like that, it's not a threat, it's a warning shot. And this one went thermonuclear. Hip-hop pages, blogs, fan accounts, the entire content ecosystem seized on it. The narrative was set. 50 had been awakened. The sleeping giant was no longer sleeping. Whispers started circulating from insiders, from people close to Jim, allegedly telling him to stand down, to let it go, because this was different. This wasn't just two rappers trading barbs for clout. This was history, deep and tangled, rising from the grave. To understand why this single post hit with the force of a seismic charge, you have to rewind the tape. You have to go back to the early 2000s when New York hip-hop was a battlefield of empires and the air was thick with competition and pride. On one side of the bridge, you had 50 Cent and G-Unit, Queen's finest. They were the gritty, get-rich-or-die-trying success story, a crew that emerged from the concrete with a chip on its shoulder and a Glock in its waistband. They were bulletproof and bankable, a terrifying combination. On the other side, you had Cameron and the Diplomats, Harlem's flamboyant pink-wearing swagger-soaked kings. Dipset. They repped their borough with a different kind of energy. Slick, stylish, and unapologetically cocky. They were the two poles of New York rap, both kings, both legends. But the tension between them was a constant, low-frequency hum, a rivalry built on ego, borough pride, and unspoken street politics.
I'm a passionate brother. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I cry a lot of shit like that. I'm very emotional. So when people talk about me, I gotta stand up for me because nobody else gonna stand up for me, as you see. You heard? I fight all my battles on my own. I take losses and I take my wins the same way. You heard? The same smirk, just like this.
It never erupted into a full-blown war, but the potential was always there. A loaded gun waiting for someone to pull the trigger. And Jim Jones? He was often Dipset's loudest, most vocal lieutenant. He was the one who would consistently insert himself into the narrative, always there to remind people that Harlem's vibe was a world away from Queens. He was the one keeping that competitive flame flickering, long after 50 had ascended to a different stratosphere of fame and fortune. 50's track record, however, is written in stone. He didn't just talk about being real, he lived a life that was almost too cinematic to be real. Surviving an assassination attempt, winning brutal label wars, outmaneuvering everyone to become one of the most successful hip-hop artists of all time. He didn't need to prove a thing. His entire existence was the proof. So when Jim Jones in 2025 starts throwing that old tired shade about who's really outside,
rappers have done a tremendous job, and I take nothing away from them, but they forget I got a hell of a catalog. Me, Jim Jones, myself, gold records, platinum records, gold albums, platinum albums. No, me, Jim Jones. No Diplomats, no nobody else. Me, Jim Jones. Check my track record, then check everybody else's track record.
Fans didn't see it as a legitimate challenge. They saw it as something else, jealousy, a desperate grasp for relevance from a past that 50 had long since transcended. Fast forward to today, and the power dynamic isn't just different, it's a chasm. 50 Cent is a bona fide mogul. He's the mastermind behind television empires like Power and BMF, a multimillionaire who moves in circles far beyond the recording booth. He's a media machine. When he speaks, the world listens. Jim Jones? He's still out here chasing headlines, often finding his biggest moments by name-dropping other rappers. That's why 50's warning didn't feel like a rapper dissing another rapper. It felt like a CEO sending a cease and desist to a noisy former employee. It was dripping with that know your role energy, that you are not on my level finality. And insiders suggest this wasn't some impulsive reaction. 50 had been watching, listening. For months, Jim had been poking the bear, throwing shade not just at 50, but at Mahe, at Cameron, too many people from the same family tree.
Period. I'd never take that away from him. But then as I got in the game, you got to realize that your rivals would be idols, and not to take anything away from that. I developed my own style and my own lane that these kids start to gravitate towards the same way I gravitated towards Nas when I was younger and things like that. It's a whole different generation. We're talking about 94. 93, I was in 11th grade. Nigga, it's 2025.
Online people started calling him Harlem's noisy neighbor, the guy who talks more than he raps. He's been trying to prove a point that in 2025, nobody is really asking for. The culture has evolved. It's not about who's the toughest on the block anymore. It's about who's making the smartest moves in the boardroom. And in that game, 50 Cent isn't just a player, he's the house. And the house always wins. When that post went live, it was like a flashback to 2003. The get rich or die trying 50 had flickered back to life, if only for a moment. The confidence, the mystery, the unshakable aura of a man who knows things you don't. It all came rushing back. It reminded everyone why his name still carries a unique kind of fear. He's not the type to argue. He's the type to pull files, to make a phone call, to remind the city. And Jim's response to this earth-shattering warning? Silence. Crickets. No clapback post. No defiant live stream. No fiery interview. Nothing. And in the high-stakes game of public perception, silence isn't peace. It's pressure. And right now, the pressure on Jim Jones must be immense.
He really put the whole dope boy rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before anybody else, before I heard Jay do it, before I heard anybody else. Like, he changed the cadence of rap into a whole different steam. Like, he's the one that broke the camel's back when it came to artists, like, to me, when it came to artists like Big Daddy Kane and all these artists that came right before him. Like, after Nas came with that, they started to fade out.
After the warning went viral, the internet did what it does best. It became a digital detective agency. Fans, bloggers, and historians started digging, pulling at the threads of the past. And the story that began to unravel was even deeper and more tangled than anyone imagined. For years, there have been rumors, murmurs in the background of the industry about tension between 50 and Jim that goes far deeper than music. Whispers about street business that never got completed, deals that went sideways, alliances that fractured behind the scenes. Nothing was ever confirmed. Nothing was ever spoken about openly. It was the kind of history that stays in the shadows. Until now, 50's words remind the city what really happened.
He wanted that. He was watching them be that, like Mace be that and Cam be that, and looked at, and it was finally, he had one. And I just looked, and I knew, I just took the shot, Murder, to see, because I wasn't sure he was going to go for it. But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam.
Were like a key turning in a long locked door. Suddenly, everyone was asking the same terrifying question. What does 50 know? The speculation went into overdrive. Was it about old Harlem street ties? Was it about the messy label politics from the days when 50 and Cameron had that legendary, explosive on-air argument on Hot 97? Remember that? Jim was right there backing his man up. The energy never died. 50 just outgrew it, while Jim seemed to keep it on life support.
Yeah, man. You know, like with me, I'm chasing chicken. You know, people tend to put rappers, quote unquote rappers, in a box, and me, I'm just always chasing the check. You know what I'm saying? As long as I ain't doing nothing to, you know, damage my integrity, anything like that, I'm going to chase a check. If they tell me it's 500,000, and
now it feels like all that dormant history is bubbling to the surface. The consensus online is clear. Jim should have left 50's name out of his mouth. He should have remembered the body count. This is the man who systematically dismantled Ja Rule's career, who has publicly toyed with billionaires and moguls like Diddy for sport. Once 50 Cent decides you're a target, he doesn't just defeat you. He exposes you. He turns your reputation into ash, and he does it with a smirk. The craziest part of this whole thing? 50 didn't even have to break a sweat. One post, 9 words. That's all it took to send shockwaves so powerful that rappers started quietly unfollowing Jim. Bloggers began dredging up every old, reckless clip they could find. Even his peers from Harlem grew uncharacteristically quiet. It was as if the entire industry was taking a step back, putting space between themselves and the epicenter, waiting for the next, bigger explosion. They're all asking the same thing. Is 50 going to pull an exposure moment? Is he sitting on a file, a video, a story, a witness? And trust me, if he is, it won't just break the internet. It will redefine Jim Jones's entire legacy. Then, just as the tension reached a fever pitch, fans noticed something. The post, The original warning was gone, deleted from 50's Instagram.
Put it to you like this, Jim. Hey, bro, you been in this thing, but lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
Y'all
but look
ain't
how
ever
you
with
dress.
Nas.
Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the
But
things
I-
that we, listen to
I can
the
be in the
things-
church
the-
house.
the-
You can't
the-
F with Nas
the
lyrics.
things that we- the
I don't know
things
who
that-
told you that. Now
the-
look,
the
you all
things
know you on that
things
good
that we
stuff,
listen
but
to
you
and the
not
things that
seeing
you listen
Nas.
to. Bro,
You
it's a
not
bunch
seeing
of
Nas, bro.
You got a bunch of
Let's be
40 and
real.
50 You got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better
It
than
don't
Nas.
matter.
Look at you. Look at you.
Ain't nobody,
And all in your,
ain't
all in
nobody
your
from
filth.
Dipset gonna
Shannon,
take you
that's
over.
your-
But instead of calming the storm, this act of deletion only poured gasoline on the fire. When 50 deletes something, it's never an accident. It's never a sign of backing down. It's a strategy. It means the warning has been delivered. The message has been received. Now the real moves are being made behind the scenes. The silence is a weapon. Meanwhile, Jim remains quiet. His camp puts out word that he's unbothered. But let's be real. That's what you have to say. When 50 Cent is involved, silence doesn't feel like peace. It feels like the calm before the storm. Every tweet, every podcast mention, every quote is now dissected for meaning. The entire hip-hop world is holding its breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is no longer about music, it's about pride. Jim Jones built his entire image on being Harlem's tough, street-certified voice, but the internet has already crowned him with a new, damning title, The Man Who Woke Up 50 Cent. And that is a title you do not want. Because when you wake 50 up, he doesn't just come for your career. He comes for your story. He comes for your truth. So where does this leave us? The warning has been sent, received, and has gone utterly viral.
Coming up and things like that.
I've heard you say that.
Since the barbecue and things like that, like he really put the whole dope boy rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before anybody else. Before I heard Jay do it, before I heard anybody else, like he changed the cadence of rap into a whole different steam. Like he's the one that broke the camel's back when it came to artists, like to me, when it came to artists like Big Daddy Kane and all these artists that came right before him. Like after Nas came with that, they started to fade out. And then
the question hanging over the entire culture is simple. What happens next? Will 50 Cent, true to his form, decide to unload? Will he remind the city in vivid, undeniable detail, exposing a truth that could shatter a reputation? Or was this simply the ultimate power play, a cold, calculated way to put so much pressure on Jim Jones that he has no choice but to fall back permanently? Either way, the message was crystal clear. 50 Cent does not play about his respect. He has built too much, survived too much, and commands too much to entertain what he clearly views as clown-level drama. See, that's the master stroke in all of this. 50 is no longer just an artist. He is a global brand, an empire. So when his name gets dragged into petty beef, he doesn't just clap back emotionally. He turns the entire situation into a business move.
Be on social media talking about it.
He did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually.
Oh, you've been saying this for a long time now. And then no one was, they're just, why is he saying this? And now it's coming out like crazy. I mean,
But I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah.
He claps back in a way that generates headlines, boosts engagement for his projects, and most importantly, solidifies his dominance. It's a brutal reminder to the entire industry. I am still the apex predator here. People online started putting their careers side by side, and the comparison was brutal. 50 Cent, 2 decades of relentless wealth, global relevance, and unshakable power. Jim Jones, a respected OG, but whose recent peaks often come from interview soundbites, not chart-topping hits. This whole situation exposed a painful, bigger truth for many in the game.
You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce of something, yo.
You do need
You
that
might
help.
need
That's
2
why-
ounces.
That's why
Paid
you
in
look
full
in the
movie. I got a G for every bump in your face. I promise you that.
Jim is out here chasing validation, while 50 is the one who validates. And the wildest theory of all, some fans believe this warning wasn't just for Jim Jones, it was for everyone. A shot across the bow of the entire industry. A stark reminder that even in 2025, even with a new generation of stars, Curtis Jackson still holds the keys to the narrative. He can shift the entire internet's focus for a week with a single cryptic sentence. That is real power. Jim Jones is now trapped in a no-win scenario, a perfect example of 50's chess mastery. If Jim claps back, he gives 50 the green light to unload his arsenal, and nobody wins a war of attrition against 50 Cent. If Jim stays quiet, he looks weak, like a man who got called out and folded. It's checkmate. Every possible move leads to a loss. Even other celebrities have started whispering from the sidelines, their messages clear. Jim, let it go. You can't win. Everyone knows 50 doesn't forget. He waits, he gathers, and he strikes when the timing is perfect. So yeah, 50 Cent's warning went viral for a reason. It wasn't just a post. It was a statement, a lesson, a chilling reminder that some names in this game carry an atomic weight, and some rivalries, no matter how dormant, never truly die. The message was simple, devastating, and utterly effective. Don't play with me. I am not the one now. The whole hip-hop world is waiting, watching Jim Jones's every move. Will pride make him do something stupid? Or will survival instinct force him to swallow his pride and fade into the silence? One thing is for absolute certain. When 50 Cent looks into the camera and says, "I'll remind the city," you better believe he's not bluffing. He's holding something heavy. And the only thing left to find out is whether he decides to let it drop. The wait is the worst part. The suspense is the real punishment. And 50 Cent, the master strategist, knows that better than anyone.